Pierce Brosnan was born on May 16, 1953 in Drogheda, Ireland, into a world that offered him very little. No wealth, no family legacy, and almost no father. His dad, a carpenter named Thomas, vanished so early in Pierce's life that the boy could not recall his face, his voice, or even a single moment of his presence. His mother, May, worked as a nurse and tried her best to hold things together. But in 1957, when Pierce was just 4 years old, she made a painful decision that would shape everything that followed. She left for London to find work, leaving her young son behind. What was supposed to be a short separation stretched into 7 long years. During that time, Pierce was passed between relatives, first his grandparents in Navan, then an uncle and aunt in Trim. Every new house came with new rules, a new school, and unfamiliar faces. He was always the outsider, always the new kid. Teachers noticed he was bright but withdrawn, often staring out the window as if searching for something just beyond reach. In 1964, at age 11, he finally moved to Greenock, Scotland, where his mother had remarried. Her new husband, William Carmichael, was a factory worker, patient, kind, and steady. For a boy who had known very little consistency, this new home brought complicated emotions. Pierce was glad to have his mother back, but he was also angry. She had a new life now, a new man. Still, William never pushed too hard. He taught Pierce small things, how to fish, how to fix things, and slowly how to trust again. One evening, William took Pierce to the cinema. The film was Goldfinger, and Sean Connery as James Bond changed everything. Bond was everything Pierce had not been allowed to be: confident, strong, in control. He was the opposite of the abandoned boy who had been shuffled between relatives for years. That image lodged itself somewhere deep in Pierce's imagination and never left. By 16, Pierce made another bold decision. He dropped out of school and enrolled at St. Martin's School of Art in London. He had no money and no clear plan, just a passion for painting. He admired Francis Bacon and Lucian Freud. He survived on toast and tea while his classmates came from wealthier backgrounds. Then in 1971, while still studying, he stumbled into a theatre workshop in South London. He saw a fire eater performing and on a sudden impulse asked if he could try. That spontaneous moment rewrote his entire future. The group saw something in him, a natural bravery, a presence, and invited him to join. From 1973 to 1976, Pierce trained at the Drama Centre London, one of the most demanding acting schools in the country. More than 60% of students dropped out. The teachers were relentless, pushing students to their limits, breaking them down to rebuild them stronger. Pierce worked side jobs to pay the fees, studied Shakespeare, practiced mime and circus techniques, and refused to quit. In 1976, he landed his first real stage role in the thriller Wait Until Dark. A year later, he impressed London critics in Tennessee Williams' The Red Devil Battery Sign, a play that had flopped in America but came alive under Pierce's performance. Small film roles followed. In 1980, he appeared on screen for less than 30 seconds in The Mirror Cracked alongside Elizabeth Taylor, earning £50. That same year, he had a minor role in The Long Good Friday with Helen Mirren and Bob Hoskins, a film that would later become a cult classic. Pierce was building something, brick by brick, even if no one could quite see it yet. Then in 1982, everything accelerated. Pierce auditioned for a murder victim in a new NBC series called Remington Steele. But the casting director saw something magnetic in him and called him back, not for a minor part but for the lead role. The original character had been envisioned as a seasoned American con man in his 50s. Pierce was 29, Irish, and virtually unknown in the United States. Over 200 actors had auditioned. His accent nearly cost him the role. Executives worried American audiences wouldn't accept a foreign lead. They were wrong. Remington Steele premiered on October 1, 1982, and became NBC's second highest-rated new series, drawing 15.6 million viewers a week. Pierce was cool, smooth, and effortlessly charming, and audiences loved him for it. At its peak, the show earned NBC over $50 million a year in advertising alone, with international sales adding another $200 million. It aired in more than 80 countries. Within months of it airing, critics were openly saying Pierce Brosnan should be the next James Bond. In January 1983, Entertainment Weekly called him the most Bond-like actor since Sean Connery. Bond producer Albert Cubby Broccoli took notice. Even Ian Fleming's widow publicly said that Brosnan looked and acted exactly as her husband had always imagined Bond. But the path to Bond was cruel. In 1986, when he was on the verge of being officially cast, Remington Steele was cancelled. Then, in a twist that felt almost deliberately unkind, word that Pierce might become Bond caused the show's ratings to surge. NBC reversed the cancellation and ordered a short fifth season, and since Pierce was still under contract, he could not film Bond. The producers moved on. Timothy Dalton got the role. Pierce watched from the sidelines. Throughout what fans would later call his lost years, 1986 to 1994, Pierce kept working. He played a British spy in The Fourth Protocol, showed dramatic range in Nomads, and quietly kept himself in the conversation. Meanwhile, his personal life had given him everything he could have wanted and then taken it away with devastating force. He had met Cassandra Harris in the late 1970s. She was an actress, born in Sydney, warm and beautiful, and the connection between them was immediate. They married on December 27, 1980. Cassandra had 2 children from a previous marriage, Charlotte and Christopher, and Pierce raised them as his own, later adopting them after Cassandra's ex-husband died. When they had a son together in 1983, naming him Sean, the family felt whole. Pierce, who had grown up without a father, poured everything he had into being the kind of dad he had always needed. In 1987, while Pierce was filming in India, Cassandra fell seriously ill. They flew back to London and received a devastating diagnosis: advanced ovarian cancer. Her own mother had died of the same disease. Over the next 4 years, Cassandra endured 8 surgeries and 18 months of chemotherapy. Pierce stayed by her side through all of it, calling himself the quiet party, always present, often helpless. On December 28, 1991, she died. She was 43 years old. Their son Sean was 8. Pierce had to tell a little boy that his mother was gone, and then he had to keep going. He was finally cast as James Bond in 1994. When GoldenEye was released in 1995, it was a watershed moment. MGM had been nearly bankrupt, the franchise was on life support, and the film had already burned through directors. It needed to succeed. It made $353 million worldwide. Pierce performed 90% of his own stunts, including a bungee jump off a 220-meter dam in Switzerland so dangerous that insurance companies refused to cover it. The film was released exactly 30 years after Sean Connery's final official Bond outing. It wasn't just a movie, it was a resurrection. Nintendo's GoldenEye 007 game, born from the film's success, went on to reshape the entire video game industry. His next 3 Bond films, Tomorrow Never Dies, The World Is Not Enough, and Die Another Day, earned a combined $1.238 billion. Steven Spielberg personally called him after GoldenEye to offer him Indiana Jones. Pierce turned it down to stay loyal to Bond, a decision that likely cost him $50 million but showed the depth of his commitment to the role he had waited 20 years to play. Then, in 2004, it ended as abruptly as it had begun. A phone call lasting 4 to 7 seconds. "You were a great James Bond. Thank you very much. Goodbye." Die Another Day had been the highest-grossing Bond film to that point, earning $431.9 million. None of it mattered. Producers had already been screen testing his replacement for 2 years while giving no indication he was being let go. 3 film deals collapsed. His asking price fell from $12 million to $3 million. He let 12 staff members go and fell into a depression. And then, in 2013, the grief returned in its most familiar and most terrible form. His daughter Charlotte, who had grown up watching her mother fight ovarian cancer and lose, was diagnosed with the same disease. She was 41. Her grandmother had died of it. Her mother had died of it at 43. Now it had come for Charlotte. She battled it for 3 years with courage and fierce love. 2 weeks after marrying her partner Alex Smith on June 14, 2013, she passed away. Her daughter Isabella was 15, the same age Charlotte had been when Cassandra was first diagnosed. Her son Lucas was 8, the same age Sean had been when he lost his mother. The precision of the echo was almost unbearable. At the 2014 Stand Up to Cancer fundraiser, Pierce stood on stage and spoke the words that had no business fitting into one man's life. He had held his wife's hand as she died. And then, 22 years later, he had held his daughter's hand and watched the same thing happen again. He turned 71 still working. In 2022, he was cast as Dr. Fate in Black Adam. He has been a UNICEF ambassador since 2001, marched with Greenpeace, spoken out against nuclear testing, and fundraised relentlessly for ovarian cancer awareness. His wife Keely Shea Smith, whom he met at a beach party in 1994 and married in 2001,